The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He takes away every branch in me that does not bear fruit, and every one that does, he prunes so that it bears more fruit. You are already pruned because of the word that I spoke to you. Remain in me as I remain in you. Just as a branch cannot bear on its own unless it remains on the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit, because without me you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me will be thrown out like a branch and wither. People will gather them and throw them into a fire, and they will be burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask for whatever you want, and it will be done for you. By this is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples." The Gospel of the Lord. Can't even remember my sermon now. Today's gospel reminds me of the 71 women, men, and children who planted themselves as grape cuttings into the soil that eventually produced the choicest wine, known affectionately as the Madeleine. For over 106 years, think about it. The original grapevine cuttings eventually grew into a grape branch, never ever separated from the vine, Jesus Christ. But because of the connection with the Lord over these 106 years, what were cuttings have become this grape branch that has produced tremendous grace and good wine. Now, let's go back to the original place where those cuttings were planted, meaning the 71 men and women and children who then purchased 10 plots of land, and in doing so bought them for $20,000. And then they decided they would build their first church. So the old church, the Founders Hall, has been established on that particular plot of the vineyard, where then those cuttings took root and have produced what we have today as a Madeleine community. So let's look at what has happened over the 106 years. How through the connection with the vine, Jesus Christ, have produced all that we get to enjoy presently in this moment. So there was the original church. And eventually then they built a convent and a rectory. 20 years later, a school and a high school. The grammar school, double grades. Then there was the gym. Then came this church. And from this church, they built a new convent and a new rectory. And then, about 40 years ago, they built the parish center. And then they also renovated the gym and put in an elevator and so many other additions over these 106 years. And again, it all started with what those 71 people did in terms of growing into this great branch that has produced great fruit. So this weekend, we kick off our capital campaign specifically for that original church where it all started. We kick off with joy and enthusiasm the opportunity for all of us to take up our pruning shears and to prune away whatever stands in the way of this sacred space being utilized now for future generations for the next 100 years. Let me ask you, with regards to the convent across the street, do you think anybody would have had the vision that that would then one day, as today, house Cascadia Behavioral Services for all of the mentally ill? No one had that understanding. Just like we won't have the same understanding in 50 or 100 years when we utilize that space which has been neglected and has gone into disuse. And so it is our time and opportunity to restore it. Now, everybody in the parish is going to get a letter from me, and that letter is going to specifically ask for a certain amount in which hopefully you will consider to pledge. Now, it's meant to shock you, by the way, and you'll probably all conclude, now we know it's certified, he's crazy. Who does he think he is? But let me be clear. The number that was given was based on your offerings and then given an extra boost for the real sacrificial gestures, the pruning on behalf of all of us. Now, of course, if you can't make that, then there's no worry, there's no problem. With the letter, you are also going to receive this case study document. It's about 8 pages, and it's very, very well done. Now remember, we did our homework together as a community. We had the Steyer group come in, everyone was sent a questionnaire, and you were asked to put your honest reflections and feelings with regards to this project. Should we move ahead? What about all of these questions? And painstakingly, a large number of people on staff answered the questions. And they also listened to what was said in your surveys, and it said 80% plus for us to move ahead. And that's what we're doing. And so today we get to kick this off. Now, over 150 parishioners so far have already received a letter. We're doing it in bunches or batches. But this coming week and the beginning of the following week, everybody should have their letters and packets. Now, here's really good news. Out of that 150 group of parishioners, 60 or so have responded, and guess what? They have pledged $950,000. Now, isn't that exciting? Well, you don't act like it. It's exciting. Yay! I mean, I didn't think that was going to happen that quickly. 950,000, 50,000 short of our first million. And guess what has inspired people to give generously? This gentleman right here, please stand, Howard, just for a moment. He doesn't like this, but to pledge $1 million to us, thank you, Howard. For you, Howard, to believe in us as you have said, you love this community, you love the people that are here, you especially love me. No, I'm just saying that. But with all of it said, to believe in this mission and to say, I'll pledge $1 million, but you're not going to get off easily, everybody. You have to come up with $2 million more in order to get my $1 million match. Howard, get ready. We're almost at $1 million. Thank you. About 3 or 4 years ago, I'm going to guess she's probably in 3rd grade. The family has moved on. But we have talked about this project since the day I arrived. There were parishioners who came to me and said, you are going to try to use that space up there, aren't you? And I said, I'm going to try. But first, we've got a lot of other things that we have to do here. I mean, if you look around the campus, would you not say you've seen the improvements that all of us have made? What about this new boiler that cost over $135,000? What about all of our buildings that have been painted? What about the grounds? The list goes on and on. But she gave me this quarter, 25 cents, and said, my grandparents were married in that old church chapel, and I'd like to give this to you towards restoring it to what it's supposed to be. So I have a quarter and a pledge of $1 million. I have from Peggy Barnett and another lady on fixed incomes who sent me a note, you didn't know I was going to say this, but gave me $100 for this project, $50 each on fixed incomes, and said this is for the old church. I can't tell you how many pennies and nickels and quarters have already been given over the years. Just to undertake this has been over $135,000 that we've paid for. So this will detail everything that we're going to undertake now. And we're off to a great start. And so for the 50+ volunteers that have come together to be honorary chairs and cabinet members, and the Steyer group that is giving us the direction, I thought I was going to really have to fight really hard to get enough volunteers to be able to make phone calls and to ask you, will you consider this amount of money now that you've been shocked and you survived it? Could you consider something for this important cause? Not only that, over 60% combined of our faculty of school and our parish staff have already made their pledges, myself included. So we're off to a great start. And it gives me great hope, as I'm sure it does for all of you, as we really strive our best to take this space and to make it of use. So all of us are called to do some pruning. And the pruning must happen as it has happened for the last 105 years. Buildings that were knocked down, the old high school, part of the school wing, all of the trees, etc., on that piece of property that built the Field of Dreams, that's used by whom? Not just our community, but the community at large. Well, so you don't all walk out on me, because I have so much more to say about the project. It all boils down to this, that when it's all said and done, this project, not being able to build a new building, yes, money could be used for the poor, but remember these new ministries within the last couple months. Deacon Mike's ministry to feeding the people that are on the waterfront, giving them clothes and dignity and respect, feeding in the morning those that are looking for work. All of that is prepared and takes place in the parish center. St. Vincent de Paul. They're packages that are put together and stored behind this wall. It's what we do with these facilities and our future facilities. This project will unite us even more so as the Magdalene community. It will unite us in purpose and vision and sacrifice. Sacrifice for what is the appointed time for the next 100 years plus of this fine choice wine, affectionately known as the Magdalene community. Saint Mary Magdalene, pray for us.